Most people spend their entire lives waiting for permission to be strong, waiting for someone to clap, waiting for the world to be fair, waiting for love to arrive on their terms. But here's the truth that changes everything: mental strength isn't built in that waiting. It's built the moment you stop. Stop expecting from everyone. This is the first law of mental strength, and it will transform your peace overnight. When you expect nothing, you cannot be disappointed. When you expect nothing, you are never betrayed. Think about it: expectations are just future resentments waiting to happen. You expect your friend to remember your birthday, resentment. You expect your boss to recognize your effort, resentment. You expect your family to understand you, more resentment. The moment you release every expectation, you gift yourself freedom. Not coldness. Not bitterness. Freedom. Because you're no longer tied to how other people behave or what they think of you. Next, accept that life isn't fair. Not in the way you want it to be. Your neighbor gets lucky breaks while you work twice as hard. Someone with less talent gets promoted. Someone less deserving gets chosen. This is not tragedy. This is life. The faster you accept that fairness is a story you tell yourself, not a rule of the universe, the faster you stop wasting energy arguing with reality. And the moment you stop arguing with reality, you become unshakable. This is where most people stay broken. They keep bargaining with the universe, trying to negotiate fairness out of an indifferent world. But strength lives on the other side of that acceptance. Third principle: don't beg for love or attention. Silence is your power, not their approval. When you stop asking, you become magnetic. When you stop performing, you become real. Think of the person who needs constant reassurance, constant messages, constantly working to stay in someone's mind. That person is exhausted. That person is weak. Not because of who they are, but because they're fighting for scraps of attention. But the person who walks away, who stops texting, who stops calling, who stops explaining themselves, that person is terrifying to others. Because suddenly, they're not easy to control. They're not easy to keep. That silence is a boundary that commands respect. Your approval of yourself is the only approval that matters. Let that sink in. Stop broadcasting your hurt. Stop performing your pain. Let them wonder. Let them question. Your mystery is your strength. Now, let's talk about emotions. Keep them under control, not suppressed, not denied, but controlled. This doesn't mean you don't feel. It means not everyone deserves your reaction. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off. Your first emotion is anger. But a mentally strong person doesn't immediately honk, doesn't chase them down, doesn't let that one moment ruin their day. They breathe. They move on. But that's small stakes. The real test is personal. Someone disrespects you, and you feel the urge to fight back, to explain, to defend yourself. A weak person does all three. A strong person stays quiet. Because you've already done the work of knowing your worth. You don't need their validation. You don't need to convince them. Their opinion is just noise, and you've learned to turn down the volume. This brings us to the next level: learn to stay calm in chaos. Not by changing the world around you, that's impossible. By controlling the storm inside you. The world will always be chaotic. There will always be people yelling, deadlines screaming, systems failing, plans falling apart. You cannot control any of that. But you can control how you move through it. A mentally strong person doesn't try to quiet the chaos. They build an unshakable center. They develop the ability to remain clear-headed while everything around them is burning. That is the real superpower. You do this through practice, meditation, breathing exercises, journaling, anything that trains your mind to be the observer of chaos rather than the victim of it. Your mind is not your thoughts, it's the space where thoughts happen. The moment you realize that, everything changes. You stop being controlled by every thought that floats through. You become the director of your own mind. This brings us to a hard truth: you need to walk away from toxic people. And I mean completely. Because toxic relationships are like carbon monoxide, you can't see them, but they're slowly killing you. A toxic person is not necessarily someone evil. They might be charming. They might be family. They might be someone you love. But if being around them consistently drains your energy, diminishes your peace, or makes you question your worth, they're toxic. And here's what weak people do: they stay. They hope it will change. They make excuses. They believe that enough love, enough patience, enough sacrifice will transform the other person. It won't. Protect your peace like it's your oxygen. Because it is. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you certainly cannot heal while standing in someone else's poison. The strongest thing you'll ever do might not be fighting. It might be walking away and never looking back. It might be choosing yourself when everyone expects you to sacrifice yourself. Next principle: focus on solutions, not problems. Winners fix things. Complainers just make noise while things get worse. Listen to people for 5 minutes and you can tell who has strength and who doesn't. The weak person talks about their problems endlessly. They rehearse the drama. They collect sympathizers. They turn their wound into their identity. The strong person talks about the problem once, maybe twice. Then they immediately shift to, what am I going to do about this? How do I fix it? What's my move? They don't get stuck. They get moving. This is why successful people sound different when they talk. They're not describing problems, they're describing solutions. They're not asking for pity. They're asking for help that actually moves the needle. Problems are infinite. You will always have them. But your power lies in being the kind of person who transforms problems into puzzles to solve. That shift in language creates a shift in energy. Now here's something that might sound strange: believe in yourself even when no one claps. In fact, especially when no one claps. Build your quiet confidence. We're raised to believe that validation comes from outside. Good grades mean teachers believe in you. Promotions mean your boss believes in you. Social media likes mean people believe in you. It's all a trap. Because the moment you build your worth on external applause, you're no longer free. You're a puppet dancing for whoever can give you attention. And they know it. But when you build your confidence from within, when you know you're good because you did the work, not because someone told you so, that's unshakable. That's the real thing. This is what I call self-trust. You trust your own judgment. You trust your own instincts. You trust that you can handle whatever comes. When you trust yourself, you don't need constant advice. You don't need someone to tell you whether you're doing the right thing. You've already checked in with the only voice that matters, your own. And let me tell you what this does: it makes you dangerous to people who want to control you. Because you can't be manipulated if you trust yourself. You can't be gaslit if you know what's true for you. Self-trust is the foundation of mental strength. Everything else is built on it. And you develop it by making small decisions and following through. By keeping promises to yourself. By listening to yourself. Most people break promises to themselves constantly. They say they'll wake up early and don't. They say they'll work out and don't. They say they'll stop a bad habit and don't. Then they wonder why they don't trust themselves. But if you want to build mental strength, start here: make a small promise to yourself and keep it. Then make another. Build that trust back. Prove to yourself that you're someone you can count on. This is the unglamorous work that actually builds character. It's not Instagram worthy. It's just you alone with your word. But it changes everything. Here's another counterintuitive truth: don't fear being alone. Solitude grows strength, not sadness. We're obsessed with being busy, being connected, being surrounded. Silence feels like failure. Being alone feels like rejection. But this is where we've gotten it wrong. In solitude, you find yourself. You hear your own thoughts. You get bored enough to think deeply. You sit long enough with yourself to actually get to know who you are. Most people spend their entire lives running from themselves. They'll do anything to not sit alone with their thoughts. They'll binge shows, scroll endlessly, make plans, stay busy. Anything but face themselves. And that's why they never develop real strength. You can't know yourself if you never spend time with yourself. You can't trust yourself if you've never been alone with yourself long enough to learn what that trust means. So here's what you do: schedule solitude. It sounds strange, but it works. Put time on your calendar, an hour, 2 hours, where it's just you with no phone, no distraction, no mission. Just you. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable. You might feel anxious. You might feel like you're wasting time. But push through. This is where the real work happens. This is where you build strength. And here's something nobody tells you: the people who are most afraid of being alone are usually the most lonely. Because they'll accept any company, any relationship, any situation just to avoid solitude. They're never actually present with anyone because they're terrified of being with themselves. But the person who's comfortable being alone? They're never actually lonely. Because they're good company for themselves. And when they choose to be with others, it's a choice, not a desperation. This changes the quality of every relationship you have. People can feel when you need them versus when you choose them. And they respect people who choose them far more. Finally, and this is crucial, forgive, but don't forget the lesson. This is the difference between weakness and wisdom. A weak person holds on to resentment forever. They become bitter. They see the world through the lens of their wound. They bring that pain into every new relationship, every new situation. That's the definition of weakness. But forgiving doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean letting them off the hook. It doesn't mean staying in contact. Forgiveness is simply you deciding that you're not going to let what they did live rent-free in your head anymore. You owe peace to yourself, not closure to them. Closure is a myth. You don't need them to apologize for you to move on. You don't need them to admit fault. You just need you to decide it's done. But here's where wisdom comes in: you forgive, yes. But you remember the lesson. You remember how they made you feel. You remember what you learned about yourself and about people. That lesson is the gift wrapped in the pain. It's the boundary you now know how to set. It's the red flag you'll never miss again. It's the part of yourself you now know to protect. So you forgive them, not for them, but for you. And you remember the lesson for you. That's not bitterness. That's strength. This is what mental strength actually looks like. It's not about being tough. It's not about being cold or disconnected. It's about being so secure in who you are that nothing outside of you can shake you. Nothing can diminish you. Nothing can convince you that you're less than you know you are. And that strength is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Every day. Every choice. Every moment you choose yourself over the approval of others.